Welcome, gamers, to another edition of Industry Update, which is always a part of the Gaming Grounds Podcast Network. I am here with my fellow host, the Guzzy, Kai Guy, whatever I like to call him at the time. It seems to switch all the time, but welcome. First of all, for those of you who don't know, Guzzy went on a nice little vacation. He's just getting back from Jamaica. So how was it? Was it fun? Did you have a good time?
It was fun. It was very worth it.
Okay.
Sucks being back in the cold, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Up here in the Northeast, it is cold, and I am not a fan of it. Being from going to school in Florida for all those years, and have never been able to just readjust.
That's right.
And while you were gone, a lot of interesting stuff happened. You were gone during BlizzCon, so
right.
you were definitely down there BlizzConning it up when all of us were blowing up your phone. So we respect your nerdiness for that.
Oh, thanks.
And we wanted to have a good show this week, and you picked a good week to disappear because so much stuff happened. When it comes to the business of WoW, that we're actually only going to talk about one topic today, and I think it's going to cover most of our 30-minute to hour episodes that we do, and that is the exodus of Twitch right now, which is a huge thing. The most normal of them, or I guess the longest one that has been, was Ninja moving to Mixer. I think that was like the first major one, right?
That was the original domino, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then after that, it was Shroud and then King Goth, and both of them moved. And that was a big one because Ninja is a big draw. I think there's no doubt about that. He plays with celebrities, so people watch him, and I know that's why Mixer wanted him. And I think Shroud's a little bit more on the same vein as Ninja. Like he has a really dedicated following. I don't really watch. I think I watch Shroud like run Molten Core times, so I'm not really like a big Shroud or Ninja guy. I respect what they do. I don't watch them, but am I right to think that, Kai Guy?
Yeah, I mean, I never really watched Ninja that much. I mean, obviously he got big because of Fortnite, but he was a professional gamer.
Right.
I mean, he still technically is. He's with Luminosity, but he really just blew up with Fortnite. Shroud blew up because he was a professional gamer with Cloud9 on CS:GO. But I think they both found that their real personalities were behind a computer streaming to thousands of people.
Right.
And quite honestly, like, was Shroud good at CS:GO? Was he still good? Hell yeah. I do think his real niche, though, is doing these streams. I think he's a content creator more so than a video game professional. So to have arguably two of your top 5 streamers on Twitch leave to go to Mixer, that's a huge blow to Twitch. Now, just this little shout out here. I know you had some time back in the day streaming on Mixer, so you have a little bit of experience. Hashtag Duck Squad or whatever. Duck
Gang. The Duck Squad.
There you go.
That was my group.
You have a little Mixer experience there, so that would you probably have a little bit more understanding than me on that regard.
I was affiliate.
There you go.
I had just enough to get affiliate with them. That was so much fun. If I stayed with it too, I probably would have been better. But
right. Well, I am an affiliate on Twitch. I just haven't done it in forever.
Right. But I can definitely see what you say. But a lot of people forget too that Ninja was very big in Halo. He was a very good Halo player, and he was one of the like OG Twitch partners. He had a really nice Twitch contract when Twitch was not making a lot of money, and he kept that contract his entire time and never changed it. So he made a lot of money, because he got signed up so early for that, and it was good for him. But just like you said, he's in front of the camera guy that a lot of people are very interested in watching and knowing what he's going to do, and he's really good at engaging with his personal community, and that's really good. Shroud, like I said, I believe is the same way. Like you said, he's a content creator, so he has a very developed understanding and like a long running community that he's seems to be a pretty big like staying a part of it. So that's really good. When it comes to King Goth, I've watched him for a very long time, um, and he's a very interesting person. He's very, I guess, development oriented. He was always somebody that would go into like other people's streams and talk to them and like newer streamers and try to get them going and helping them out, and then like running things with them on the show. Like he would go on Borderlands with some of these guys, and when hosting became a thing, like he would host a lot of these people that didn't have a big following, and he's a good community creator, and he had Destiny Con, which he started and ran by itself, and it actually changed to now it's more of like a gamer initiative convention, and like a convention type thing for multiple gamers, and that's really blown up and became really good. Him and a few of his streaming buddies actually have their own coffee company, so he's very big in like community building and company building. So dude, he's got a huge following of like dedicated people, and I think that's where he differentiates a little bit from like Shroud and Ninja, but another just huge pool that's maybe not his household name known because they're not like the people that are on TV or making the big things or like a former professional gamer. He started on Borderlands and Destiny, so now he's a variety streamer, and he does a lot of stuff for the community and for other people and St. Jude's and all that stuff. So his pool is very big and very different. And I think another big pool for Mixer. And then finally, who was the newest Kai guy?
Courage JD went to YouTube.
How do you feel about YouTube, Kyle?
So I guess the way I'll put it is
just that noise you made was funny.
You obviously hear all the backlash of the content creators who've been on the platform for years saying, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Why are you, making it so wordy, word specific? Why are you demonetizing this? Like, why is YouTube changing it so much? And honestly, I think part of that's because people are so soft nowadays. Any little thing bothers them. And I think YouTube's just trying to protect the large general public that they're not doing a great job at. Personally, I would love to see YouTube go back to its roots and do what they used to do. But with that being said, YouTube is a content creation site. YouTube is literally, let's create a video and show it to the world. When they added in this live stream part, I don't really to be honest with you, I don't remember an announcement about it. I don't remember like anyone being like, "Oh my god, this is so cool." I think it's because Twitch was just so large and so overpowering that Google just needed to compete and create something. I like the aspect of it, of YouTube having other avenues for content creators to engage in their community. Both Twitch and YouTube are very high on community, as Mixer is as well. But Twitch and YouTube are obviously the two that we've known for the last 10 years and beyond. I think YouTube having the streaming aspect is cool. I don't necessarily see it as the best platform for streaming video games. Now, I think it's one thing if it's just like, hey, here's the community of Fortnite playing a couple games together and doing a tournament, like that's fine. But when you look at these streamers on Twitch, like I don't see YouTube being the competitive gaming side of things. I think we can both agree that YouTube is on the video game side. It's like the highlights of someone doing something amazing in a game, or the bloopers of playing a game, the funny highlights, or whatever it is, right? Like that's what YouTube is. It's a bunch of video clips in a montage, or you're watching a gameplay of a game rather than watching someone play competitively and whatnot. So again, I like that YouTube has that aspect on it. I don't think it's the appropriate platform for competitive gamers like Courage. We'll see how he does. I mean, same with Ninja and Shroud. Ninja's taken a hit in viewership, but obviously his deal is a lot better than what he had at Twitch. Something like 39,000 on average on Twitch for viewers, and went down to like 14,000 or something like that on Mixer on average. Part of that, I think, is a lot of the fanboys for Fortnite at the time were like, "Oh my god, it's Ninja, he's so good," blah blah blah. So I think Ninja's seeing his real fans go to Mixer, but I also think the other part is because Mixer's not that big of a brand name that people are like, yeah, I really just want to stay at Twitch. You know, all my other streamers are on Twitch. I really don't want to have to go from platform to platform. You could do multi-Twitch if you really wanted to. So I think the accessibility for everything is just better on Twitch regardless. And I really honestly think YouTube is so far behind in the streaming aspect of video games that it's kind of embarrassing, but that's just me.
No, so my side of things is I agree that I've watched like YouTube gaming like twice, and that was because I think the link I clicked on to watch something brought me to it.
Not to interject like fully, but
Yeah,
I feel like you've watched it twice because I have the same issue.
yeah,
I don't know where to find the live streams on YouTube.
right. Yeah, no, that's 100% true too. Like if you told me to go to like the live stream YouTube gaming section, I wouldn't know how to do that. So I definitely agree with you on that part. And then, but I do think they are trying to go a little bit different from what Twitch was, where it was like watch a guy play a game or watch this. I think they really want to be like a community based website where you can do those parts of, um, you know, interacting with your community and stuff more than it being like, oh, I'm a star to this X amount of group of people. When it comes to Mixer, I think Mixer more is about the community, about the people that you're like that are watching you play, because you have a little bit more control as a viewer when it comes to what you give, and your attention gets rewarded, and you kind of they're trying to focus it more, getting more interactive, and I think that's where Goth's going to strive, because they really want to get you involved with that when it comes to that part of it. I know for his aspect of it, because he has that convention and he becomes like a very big part of these games that he plays, um, being backed by Microsoft and Xbox to be able to do those things, or have like Microsoft and Xbox at his convention, or having an entire community in Mixer of less, not important, but less noticed people, I guess is the best way I'm going to say. There's not as many people that are noticed on Mixer because it's not as popular as Twitch. And with his ability and his love for going into all these other people's streams and talking to them and hosting them and sharing them and getting to know them and playing with them, like that becomes that's a really big part of what he is and what he does, and that is what Mixer gives him, besides like Microsoft and Xbox being in his corner. And I'm sure that they're not paying him any less or substantially less, or they're giving him some kind of incentive to make less money, and in the long run it's going to pay out better. Same thing with Shroud or Ninja. These are they're younger people. Goss a little older, but like they want to make that money. They want to have that money. They're doing what they love, but they also want to get paid for it, because that's their livelihoods. So they're not going to take a dramatic pay cut that's going to put them back to doing something that they don't want to be doing, at least until this ends. And I don't know. I think Twitch is going to have to go on the defensive and start keeping their people around, because with these power moves that Mixer and now YouTube are making, you're going to have to start thinking like, why are these people leaving? Like there has to be a reason why these people want to be gone. And I don't exactly know what yet. There hasn't been any official releases of what the contracts look like, nor will there probably ever be. But it's very interesting to consider that the business of streaming, not even just esports, just streaming, is becoming extremely competitive for the top 1% of talent.
Right. So if I was in this situation and I was a big name streamer and offered, we'll just say Mixer at this point, offered a huge deal by Mixer to be exclusive on that platform. The deal would have to be super enticing, but I think as a whole, I'd have to look at the platform and be like, all right, well, what's your viewership like as a whole? Not just like what would mine be. What is the community like? And what will you, as a company of Mixer, what will you do for me? TwitchCon is a big thing, right? That's something that a lot of streamers love going to. That's a place where they can really connect with Twitch, hear Twitch announcements, and sometimes, yes, Twitch does do some things that are like, what's going on? But does Mixer have anything like that? And I don't think they do. That to me is probably something that they're working on, and if they aren't, they really need to. I think that is something that really builds a community together because that allows streamers of all sorts, as well as just random viewers, to connect with each other and meet each other. And I know streamers really do have a lot of fun going to these types of events and meeting their fellow comrades. But again, I would get back to this offer and think, what's it going to do for me? Now, if the commission split goes from, like a 60-40, and I go to Mixer and it's a 75-25, okay, that's very enticing. But if I'm sitting here, I'm just going to put it in terms of Ninja, where he had 39,000 viewers on average, and now he's down to 14 or 19, whatever the number is. How many of those are subscribers on Mixer? Yes, Mixer is saying, hey, you get a free sub for your first month or whatever the deal was. But if I'm Ninja, I'm just going to say, okay, well, what is that, like 20,000 viewers that I'm missing out on? That's, you assume half of them subscribe? That's 10,000 people aren't subscribing, $5 a month, $50,000 I'm missing out on without my commission split. That's just a month, so like that's kind of ridiculous in my opinion. I personally would rather stay with Twitch just because it is a community that's been built up, and I know it does have its flaws, as does any streaming platform. But I also feel like there's a sense of urgency. There is actually a need for another platform to compete with Twitch. Like if you look at it after all these years, there's only been, honestly, it's just been YouTube as a video platform. And I think for the longest time, we were all thinking Twitch was going to be that platform. Now that Mixer's here and YouTube does have their streaming platform, I think it does allow for I don't want to say generation, but a new upswing of other content creators to come into play and be recognized and whatnot. So I think that's huge for the esports industry. But I think with Twitch being as large as it is at this time, I think it's going to be very difficult for Mixer to actually pick up on what they need to pick up on to get more viewers for Ninja. Like I said earlier, like it's a lot easier on Twitch to see 3 of your favorite streamers on instead of going to a different platform or watching 2 streams at once, whatever it is. I think the accessibility is so much easier on Twitch, but that's also because we're so used to it. I personally would stay with Twitch just because of the fact that it has the foundation everybody wants and needs. And it's got such a great community. Now, would I be missing out on building a new community in Mixer? Yeah. Like that's also the fun part, is building this community together and being one of the quote unquote founding fathers of this. That would be really fun to actually experience and be a part of. But at the same time, like, how do you get that foundation built? And that's by having a viewership and actually having a community there to build it up with you. Now, Twitch was at Mixer stage at one point, right? It was Justin.tv, and then it went to Twitch.
Justin.
So it's not,
Wow.
yeah,
That's
what it was.
That's that was.
So that's not to say Mixer can't do it. I think it's going to be tougher for Mixer to do it. A lot of these streamers really only want to be with Twitch because they know what Twitch can offer and whatnot, but they also know that's where most of the people watching video games go. So I don't know. I think it's going to be an interesting take to see. I personally think Twitch fights back within like the next 2 years. I mean, again, we don't know the extent of the contracts. We don't know how long they're for. For all we know, it could be a year-long contract. Um, Probably very similar to an esports professional contract, if I had to take a guess, just because the longevity in esports is very short compared to other things. Like when you look at NFL, right? Like some players might play 15 years, some might play 10. But in esports, like your prime is literally when you're like between 22 and 25. And you could be playing all these years leading up to it and signed by an organization, but your prime is when you're so young and whatnot that like when you get older, you move into a coaching role rather than being a player. Um, I'm be curious to see if we ever find out what these contracts are actually saying and what they're like, what the duration is, because I can really see Twitch fighting back to an extent. I don't think Twitch is going to jeopardize its whole community and say, "Oh no, we're going to offer all these people contracts to have them come back."
Right.
Obviously, losing King Goliath, losing Shroud Ninja, and Courage, like that's a huge blow to Twitch. Massive amount of money gone. But Twitch also knows, all right, well now there's space for other upcoming streamers to come in that we're going to benefit from. At the same time, I think they're going to realize that they're going to need to keep some of these larger streamers that they currently have. And how are they going to do that? That's just going to be signing them to a contract to be an exclusive streamer for Twitch. But I also really kind of feel like that's not really Twitch's way of doing things. So there's going to, in my opinion, going to be a big change with Twitch coming soon. How soon? Might be a year, might be 2 years. The more that we find out more about these exclusive streamers on these platforms or whatever it is, um, it'll tell a lot about Twitch. Now, there's also probably a lot of things about Twitch that we don't know because we're not partners of Twitch. We don't know the behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
But realistically,
Not
like
yet.
not yet. Let's hope. But like realistically, there's gonna be two sides to every story, no matter what it is. Like I'm sure Mixer, right? Like Ninja went over to Mixer, like, oh, this is gonna be great. This is gonna do that and that. But again, does Mixer have the resources now? Yes, it's backed by Microsoft, which has the infrastructure that anybody could ever need. But do they have the experience with dealing with the streaming community? Not so much compared to Twitch. So it's just going to be a lot of checks and balances. I do think, my personal opinion, I do kind of think Ninja and Shroud were, because those were the two that I watched. I do think they were kind of stupid to go to Mixer, at least right now. So it had to be a deal of a century. Personally, I do think Shroud comes back to Twitch within a year or two. That's just me, though.
Do you think Shroud is coming back or Shroud and Ninja?
Just Shroud.
Okay.
I think because Ninja's such a household name at this point,
Yeah.
that he's running, helping do these Fortnite tournaments, helping, like he's such the esports figure. He's the one on the talk shows and whatnot. Like he represents the esports community. Like I think when someone's like, "Oh yeah, esports," I think the first thing people think of, there's really two things. One, Ninja. Two, League of Legends. I mean, I think Fortnite's getting up there, but I think League of Legends being around for so long as it has, I think that's one of the driving forces of the esports industry. So I don't know. I think Shroud will come back. Ninja is probably perfectly fine on his own. Yes, Shroud has his endorsements and whatnot, but again, like it's your longevity as a content creator depends on your interaction with your community and the content you can produce. And if you start losing the content you can produce, your community is going to start falling apart. And that's when everything's going to start to slowly fade out and whatnot. And that's where I think Mixer is going to hurt people more so than Twitch would.
It's a very good point. And I like that. And, when you make these moves and you do something like this, there's always an end goal in mind. And obviously we can't get into the mind of Shroud or Ninja or Goth or anything like that. But that something had to entice them to do that, whether it was the money or the influence that they could have or the partnership that they would be making or anything like that. But I think when it comes down to it, on the flip side of that, I think the major option for these other guys was the word exclusivity. And I think that to Mixer and now YouTube is what they want, is what they needed, is the reason why they took who they took and why they took them. Because there's no rules that say that you can't stream on another platform. There was no contract involved saying exclusively on blank or I can only stream on blank.
Right, and there is a platform out there that allows you to stream to all platforms.
Right, exactly. There was ways that you could do that, and I think they saw these people, how good their communities were, how big they were, and decided, how do we make this work so that these people come and are only coming to our site? And that's what they did. These companies went out. Google went out and said, I got to make YouTube gaming better. And they went out and got who they got. And Mixer said the same thing. Who's going to make Microsoft and Mixer more household name and on a similar level to Twitch? And the way they're going about it is the people are more important on Mixer to them. The faces, the streamers are what make Mixer, rather than on Twitch, where your community is sectioned off by the game that you play. Because it seems like on Mixer, a lot of these people are more interested in who they're watching, not what they're watching. And on Twitch, I know personally on Twitch, when I go on Twitch and I look at the game I want to watch first, and then I find somebody that seems interesting, or I click through to find who I like. But when I go on Mixer, I go to Mixer because I know I'm going to watch like Goth, or I'm going to be watching somebody instead of some game. And I think that's what Mixer's getting out of, which is great. And maybe that's what they're getting into. Maybe not. But that's where I feel the move that they're making is going toward, and what they wanted to do, and being able to say exclusively, you can only watch this streamer or this company stream through here. And I think that helps Mixer too, because I think a lot of people still feel like Mixer is Xbox only. And Mixer is trying to be Mixer as Xbox and PCs, when they're trying to be, a gaming platform, not a Xbox streaming platform.
Right. Now, I just had this thought pop in my head. Let's just scale it back really quick. All the way back. Netflix came out, early 2000s? And Netflix was hey, here's a DVD. We'll send it to you in the mail. You watch it, you send it back. Netflix then became a streaming service where you can watch any of these shows going on. Along came Hulu and all the other ones, and Disney Plus is coming. So now they're all streaming. With this whole streaming platform, and most notably the NBC one, The Office is not going to be included on Netflix anymore because it's an NBC program. That is going to be included on the NBC streaming platform. It's exclusive to that platform. Take a step forward into esports. What's been going on recently, aside from the streaming platforms, is these esports games, most notably Call of Duty, and Overwatch really started it too. You have these franchise teams where only these franchise teams can be partaking in certain leagues. League of Legends is huge. They just started that, I think, this last year, maybe 2 years ago. Call of Duty's doing it now. Overwatch. The only way you can partake in this league is if you're a part of one of these teams. CSGO is rumored to be doing it. I really hope they don't. I don't like the exclusivity aspect of the esports leagues. Certain leagues, maybe, but then I think it really doesn't allow for younger talent to actually be showcased and brought into the scene to help teams. Going back to Mixer and Twitch, I think it's just a common trend with technology at this point, honestly. You have streaming platforms for watching TV shows and movies. You then hits into video gaming competitively, and now it's hitting video game streaming. I think exclusivity is kind of a word that has been around for years and years and years, but the real meaning of it and the adaptability of taking advantage of it is really coming out within this last decade. I think it's kind of interesting that everything is kind of going to the exclusivity mark in terms of technology. Again, Netflix, only certain shows are on Netflix, only certain shows are on Hulu. Like, that's so interesting. I mean, it's a money scam, money ploy, call it what you want. 100% it's all about the money, but it really, when you think about it on a grander scale, it's not just esports doing it. It's technology as a whole doing it, and other companies are adapting to this exclusivity aspect that they can take advantage of. And to go even further, it's going to be kind of similar, but not super similar. Battle Royale, right? Everybody hopped on the Battle Royale train. Look where it got them. It got them their moment of fame. Fortnite, maybe 2-3 years. Battlefield, they had like 3 months. Apex Legends, let's not even go there because that was a terrible game. But people hopped on that train. But look where it got them. Look at the fame and the money that it brought in for them. Like, that's a huge thing that you make one thing and it just takes off. You're just gone. Like, you're rolling in the money.
Yeah. Huh. That was a pretty good thought about it. And it's funny that just came into your head, because I was definitely thinking the same way. And as soon as you were talking about how, like, The Office is going exclusive to NBC's streaming platform, kind of made me think about how, like, these streamers and these performers, I guess, so to speak, are technically like the programs on the platforms. So, like, Ninja and stuff are like The Office and the shows and the movies, and to bring them from one to the other and lock them into simply, that's like having a movie that's only on Hulu. It's a good way to it's definitely a good way to think of it, and a good thing to consider when it comes to why these companies are trying to make these moves for these people.
It definitely raises a question of, is this the right move? I think we are seeing, again, taking a step back, I think we are seeing a decline in Netflix because of the exclusivity of this NBC aspect of taking The Office away, which is one of Netflix's largest shows. Hulu coming out with its own thing. Amazon Prime having its own series. Now, yes, people do pay for all of them, and that's perfectly fine. But you can really see Netflix taking a huge hit at the moment because of all this exclusivity aspect coming out into play now. And it's going to be, again, just like esports and streaming, it's going to be an interesting industry or business to watch in the next few years to see what actually happens and if someone else might come out. We're in for it for the long haul, which is the fun part. But realistically, we're just going to sit here and be like, okay, well, what's actually going to happen? And who's going to fall first? Personally, I think Mixer does fall first because YouTube is so largely popular, not just for video game content or any of their video content. I think the fact that you have Google behind you, that YouTube is just going to be around forever. Mixer, I think, is going to fall first because I don't think Microsoft has the experience of working in an industry like esports as much as the other platforms do.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, especially now, with how these business plans are going to change and adapt, and what these end goals are now for each of the companies. And maybe there's even another company, or maybe one of these companies is going to buy into another company. We can't know these things, just like we can't know why these streamers made the move, opposed to what they say is why they left. You can only take that on face value. They know what their intentions are, place to place. And do I think that this is the last group of people that's going to make that jump? No. Do I think there's going to be a lot more mid-level and maybe a couple more high-level streamers that leave, or you hear a lot of information and all of a sudden they're about to leave and Twitch does some kind of deal? I wouldn't be surprised if you saw that, because I think Twitch is now a lot more worried about losing their people. Because let's be real here. Even when you said, what, 14,000 people are watching Ninja now, I mean, that's still 14,000 people that are not watching Twitch or not watching somebody on Twitch. Like, they were Ninja guys. That's like a lot of these people when, like, the Cleveland Browns, people didn't really watch the Cleveland Browns. There was a dedicated following. LeBron goes to Cleveland. They sell out. Everything is great. Tons more viewers. LeBron leaves. There's still a lot of people that are now invested in Cleveland's success, but when he leaves, the people that want to watch LeBron started watching the Heat or watching the Lakers. Like, they're not interested in what Cleveland, aka Twitch is. They care more about that person. And I think that's what Twitch is starting to see. And like you said, are they going to make changes? Yes. Are they a company that likes to take their time with changes? Yes. Is it going to take them a while to implement these changes? Probably. So it's going to be something that develops for a while. And I don't think we're going to know until a few years down the line, when you start seeing some of these contracts leak, or we even have like agent representation, or the gaming industry becomes a lot bigger and more household than quote unquote taboo. And until then, it's going to be the Wild West. And I think this just proves how wild that the esports industry, in particular, just the streaming aspect of the esports industry, is.
You had mentioned something about like buying out another company or another streaming platform. And that got my gears thinking again. Kind of interesting to think about. So let's look at Mixer, YouTube, and Twitch. YouTube owned by Google, Mixer owned by Microsoft, Twitch owned by Amazon. Literally, the three giants of the world have a streaming platform for video games. That's kind of scary, but at the same time, it's expected. Where I'm going with this is, unless something super dramatic happens, I highly doubt Amazon, Microsoft, or Google is going to sell their platform off. Now, again, I do think Mixer's going to fall first. That if anything happened, I think you see Twitch maybe buy Mixer. And then to that, I think, if anything happens, it's going to be so hard because it's Amazon and Microsoft, and they compete in certain ways and whatnot. That it's going to be super interesting. Now, I do think with these smaller platforms out there, and to be honest with you, I don't know what they're called. But with these smaller platforms out there, I think you do see Twitch, or Amazon rather, start to buy them. I think you see Microsoft start to buy these smaller platforms because of the content creators on those platforms and the market share that they could have versus what they do have. Now, Morgz, I know when we heard about Ninja going to Mixer and then Shroud going to Mixer, I did kind of say something like, oh, like, I know we want to stream games of our network, like, having fun on Twitch, but we should also branch out to Mixer. And the reason being is because people are seeing that Twitch isn't everything. Twitch isn't the only content creation place that it's not necessarily to get known, but it's to build a community, right? So I think we're seeing that going to these other platforms, you can really build a community. I think that's kind of where some of these larger platforms should turn is, okay, what are these smaller platforms? Can we buy them while they're small and turn them into our community and see if we can find the next Ninja on Twitch, or if we can find the next Courage on Mixer, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like, doing things like that, I think that is, aside from Twitch, saying, okay, now we need to sign these people to better contracts, I think that's Twitch's next move too, is buying these smaller platforms or at least partnering with them in some regard and seeing what they can really do from there.
Right. And to me, I think it's more going to be my thing is these platforms really looking into their personal platforms. So like Twitch looking further into Twitch and Microsoft looking into Mixer and them using like data and statistical knowledge to really find who they think that next hit's going to be or that next person that they're going to give partner to really catch them before they even get big enough that Twitch or Microsoft or YouTube can grab them. So it'll be like you're auditioning all the time while you're streaming for those people who are going to be interested in doing that. And while you're streaming it, Twitch is gonna be looking like somebody from Twitch or somebody from Mixer is gonna be looking at you regardless of what platform you're on, and they're gonna try to get you when they think you're worth it. Kind of like while you're streaming unpartnered, you're in the mini platform, like you're in the minor leagues of streaming.
Right, and I think we've pretty much said it without actually saying it this whole time is Twitch has its back against the wall at this point. And I kind of, went through what I think Twitch needs to do next, but I also, Mixer's poaching from Twitch, YouTube's poaching from Twitch. Twitch needs to do something, right? So to go along with what else they should do, they should look at maybe some of these smaller streamers on Mixer or some of these other large content creators on YouTube and see what they can do to bring out that community and make it stronger. Now, personally, some of the YouTubers I watch, they're large on YouTube, but they stream on Twitch. So they will create their videos and post it to YouTube, but they only prefer to stream on Twitch, which I also find interesting. As we were saying, exclusivity, there isn't a contract saying you have to stream on YouTube if you are a content creator on YouTube, which honestly is kind of interesting. And maybe that's something YouTube might move towards. Maybe Twitch needs to move towards, and I highly doubt they will, maybe they need to move towards allowing for video uploads on their website, not like YouTube, but maybe like a community update or like a highlight reel where you can store, you can upload 4 or 5 videos every month or something like that and roll with it that way, just so that way it's kind of more community interaction or whatever it is. Now, I know you can see the VODs of the old streams on Twitch, but I mean, me personally, I prefer watching the videos over a streamer just because of the content I think is a little bit better. They're obviously going to put their best content into a video. The feel of being able to talk to a streamer is cool, and being able to engage with them is fun. But I do personally like watching YouTube videos over watching Twitch streamers. But again, it just comes down to the E word, exclusivity. Like, where are we headed next? Who's the next big streamer to fall or to knock their domino over and give another little bump in the streaming world?
I respect that power move, and I think like we've been talking about it, there's a company with its back arch trying to figure out what they're going to do next, and a company that's trying to figure out how to beat that. But I mean, I think we can just talk about this in the circle all day long, but I think we've kind of hit the topics that we want to talk about now, and I think we should just close this one up and do an update when we find more information out.
Right, exactly. And hopefully we can hear a little bit more about these contracts that these streamers are signing. If not, we're just gonna have to grind it out and get one of these contracts ourselves. So
Yeah.
look out for that. But
Right.
it's
Amen.
honestly changing the esports streaming industry
Oh
very
yeah.
quickly.
Oh, 100%. Almost 1,000%. Because streaming is now becoming more viable, and both companies allowing affiliates before partnership I mean, they're trying to get you hooked before they hook you. And I don't know. We talked about a lot of stuff on this podcast. A lot of information went out through, and there's still a lot more information to dive into before we can really figure out what's going on. And I think we kind of hit what we kind of planned on hitting in this podcast, as something that's more business related, but not in the normal vein that we usually look at. So I think this is where we should probably wrap this up. What do you think?
Yeah, and I do want to say this is my favorite series. And
Right.
I think
Great.
for you it might be the same. It's just because we're so business oriented with
Yeah.
our degrees and whatnot that we really do care about this stuff, and it's the best of both worlds. Video games as a hobby, business minds. It is a very fun series to actually be a part of, and we hope you guys enjoy it as well.
Oh yeah, I agree. And if there's definitely a topic that you want us to talk about, comes from the business of esports, we'll definitely um, cover it, touch on it, and I would love to have like community talks where we, have just an episode where it's just community recommended information, and we'll do our due diligence and we'll get it all out. Um,
I would love
and
to get to the point where we can be streaming these podcasts as we record them
mhm,
and have live viewer interaction
yeah,
of
that would
questions
be
going on.
That would be very cool. Yeah, I definitely would like that, and we'll figure out a way to, when we get to that, to do that, through Twitch, Mixer, and all that. And no, I agree with you, Guzzy. It's always great to have this podcast with you. We always talk about some interesting stuff, and we usually, even though we don't go off topic, go off the rails a little bit, and I think that's what makes us interesting.
Right.
So. I think that's a wrap for us here at the industry update. Be sure to follow us at Gaming Grounds N on Twitter, Gaming Grounds Network on Facebook. Is that right, Gus?
That's right. And on YouTube.
And we are also now officially on every major streaming service right now. Seems like most people enjoy us on Apple Podcasts, but we also are on Spotify, Google Play, SoundCloud. You name it, I'm sure we're on it. So be sure to give us a like and a listen, and let us know how we're doing. So for Morgz and Guzzy for Industry Update, which is a part of the Gaming Grounds Podcast Network, thank you for listening. Talk to you next week.
Deuces.